Hi guys, welcome back. This is episode 10 of the Hacks to Knits podcast. I am Deanna and I'm coming to you from my home in Okinawa, Japan. And this is Taco, who has decided he's going to help us today. I can't do this, Taco. Not with you watching. Go away. If you're joining me for the first time, I'm so glad you're here today. This is a podcast primarily about knitting, and there's a lot of snippets about my life here in Okinawa, Japan, where I'm currently living. I obviously did not grow up here, obviously. I could have grown up here. I just am obviously not Japanese. Anyway. Oh, so this morning, let's talk about what I'm wearing. I don't know if I'm going to talk about what I'm wearing every single episode, just because I'm sure you're going to get a little bit tired of all the repetition, but this is Sunset Highway by Caitlin Hunter. Zoom out a little bit. I made a short sleeve version. There we go. And this is knit, the yoke of the sweater is knit in Hedgehog fibers and Spindrift sock, and the body is Madeline tosh Pashmina. Yes, and I bought both of these yarns while I was, all three of these yarns while I was on a road trip, mostly through California. I stopped at several shops along the way, and these were all yarns that I didn't previously have access to. So it's a nice sweater, it's warm. There is a little bit of cashmere content in the body of the sweater, which is not appropriate for where I live, but it is doing just fine here in February in Okinawa. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw that I took a trip to the beach and put my feet in the water, and it's just been really, really nice out. We've had a spurt or two of chilly weather and rainy weather, and then just back to paradise. I don't know why I complain so much. It's easy to forget that we're in a very beautiful place, and the truth is I hate the heat a lot, so when summer comes, I'm going to be a grumpy lady. But for now, the weather is good, and I'm glad you joined me here today. Let's talk about works in progress. So, sock madness is upon us. I know if you watched last episode, you know all about what Sock Madness is, but if you weren't here for that, Sock Madness is a yearly sock knitting competition that's hosted over on Ravelry in the Sock Madness Forever group. It has kicked off for the year, and the first round is a qualifying round, so they're going to release a pattern and you have 2 weeks to complete it. If you complete the whole thing in 2 weeks, you're going to be put on a competition team. If you complete reasonable effort, which is at least one full sock or 2 socks through the heels if you're knitting them at the same time, then you're put on as a cheerleader, which makes you eligible for the patterns, which is really cool. So let me show you. You guys saw this bag last week. If you want to learn how to make this bag, I have a playlist linking to the tutorial. It's super beginner friendly because I am a super beginner sewer. And I have 1 sock done. Whoop. This pattern dropped on the 1st, my time. Today is the 6th. During the competition rounds, I knit quite a bit faster. I usually can average a pair of socks in about 2.5 to 3 days, depending on what my days look like. But since I know I have a full 2 weeks and we're only a week in now, I have 1 sock done and 1 sock in progress. Taking my time just a little bit. This pattern is called Wohin. I think I'm saying that right. Wohin by Caoua Coffee. You know what, YouTube? I want to formally apologize to every podcaster that I ever judged or snickered at for mispronouncing names or words or pattern names or anything, because it is hard to talk to the camera. Anyway, back to this. Wohin is a sock pattern by Caoua Coffee, and it is currently not available unless you are participating in Sock Madness, but it will be released as a free pattern probably in June-ish when all of this is over with. But it's just a gorgeous pattern. It uses a tuck stitch and a dip stitch. There's actually 2 different stitches depending on whether you're knitting the body of the pattern or the body of the sock or the foot of the sock, I guess is how I want to say that. And I looked up, Wohin is a German word and it means where to, and I guess it is the second song of a Franz Schubert song. I'm gonna cut all that out because I don't know what I'm talking about. The pattern is not currently available unless you are participating in Sock Madness, but will become available when Sock Madness is complete later this summer, probably June or July-ish. But the pattern is by Caoua Coffee, and I will link that below so you can favorite it if you want to stand by to knit that pattern later when it is released. Let's talk about this yarn because it is gorgeous. Let's see if you can see it. So this yarn I actually won from the Grocery Girls. So I know all of you are familiar with them by now, but the Grocery Girls are a podcast on YouTube and they do monthly sock talk knit alongs and you can enter your socks for prizes. Last year when I was doing Sock Madness, I entered in all of my Sock Madness socks into their knit along and won sock yarn, which is exciting. This yarn is Loco and it is the Backyard Chicken Collection. Oh man, this is so cool. So they took a whole bunch of different breeds of chickens and dyed yarn to match. And it comes with a main skein and then 2 mini skeins. And I have those all bound up now. But my chicken breed is the Golden Spandgled Hamburg. And it came with this one here as the main body, which is just lovely. It's sort of a, I don't know, beige taupe cream variegated yarn with little black speckles. It's really stunning and beautiful, and it's interesting because I definitely wouldn't have normally reached for this yarn if I saw it at the store, but I am just loving the way that it is knitting up. It's just kind of delicate. Let's see if you can see. So obviously forget about the black stripes here, that's the contrast yarn, but if you look between it you can see the variegated brown with speckles. And then the 2 mini skeins that came with it are this one, which all on its own looks just kind of black, but it's a really lovely soft shade. It's hard to explain it here. I think you can see it a little bit better on the sock, but it's just this very soft charcoaly kind of blue-gray color, and I am just really smitten with it. I like it a lot. And the third color is this, which is kind of reading brown, but it's a very dusky pink. Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it mauve or mauve or however you pronounce it. You know which podcaster I'm talking about. But it's gorgeous, gorgeous color pink. And I'm not sure how I'm going to use it. The yardage is very hefty on this. So the main skein of yarn comes with, it just says, okay, 100 grams and then 2 20-gram minis, and 100 grams is 460 yards. And I have a feeling that I will be able to make 2 pairs of socks like this because I'm going to use only the dark contrasting color for the first one. And I've got one sock done and I still have this much left. So you can see I haven't used very much of it. So I suspect I'll be able to do another pair of socks with this as the contrast color later on down the line. So those are done. I have not submitted my qualifying stuff yet, but if I were to submit it now, I would be a cheerleader. I'm going to try to push through and finish the pattern. Oh yeah, beautiful. I am super enjoying working on this project. Sock Madness is such a great opportunity to use up some of your stash yarn. If you are anything like me, you probably have a habit of going to new yarn shops and just buying one single skein of fingering weight yarn and having no idea what you're going to do with it. I call it souvenir yarn often. And I have a couple of skeins that are sitting in front of me here that I'm going to show you. These guys have been in my stash for varying amounts of times, but are basically that. They are souvenir yarns that as I traveled and stuck my head in new yarn shops, I went ahead and purchased some. And I just want to show them to you because they're beautiful and I've never knit with them. This one is called Lemonade Shop and it's the simple sock base. The colorway is called Bad Day. And these are really cool because it's obviously 90% gray and then it has this little run of rainbow colors, which means that just throughout the sock, randomly you'll get a little run of rainbow color. I have knit another sock in a very similarly dyed yarn. I use the Vanilla is the New Black pattern. And then what I did was I knit the whole thing in stockinette, but wherever I hit that color run, I would do purl stitches. So it would make this sort of garter edge wherever those colors were, and made them just pop out, and it turned out really pretty. I'll try to put some pictures of that pattern in. But this sock I'm very much looking forward to using. Dyed in very much the same manner, but by a different brand. This is Crafting My Chaos, which I believe is a local Texas yarn that I purchased. I purchased it at the shop Yarnivore in San Antonio when I was there visiting. And this yarn is so soft. I almost hesitate to use it for sock yarn because I wonder how well it will hold up. It is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, which makes it a standard sock yarn, but I don't know, there's something about how soft it feels that I almost want to save it for something else. But beautiful, again, dyed in the same theme, the same inspiration, sure. Also by Crafting My Chaos, I have these micro stripe sock yarns, which, oh man, it's so bright. Beautiful, beautiful. Again, 75% merino, 25% nylon, 100 grams is 460 yards. I definitely gravitate towards these neon colors in yarn. They just are so bright and beautiful, and they're fun to knit with. And it's funny because I don't wear them very often, but I think if applied in the right way, these can be really, really cool. So hopefully I'll have an opportunity to knit with those. Okay, 3 more. These are kind of the more well-known brands here. Obviously Wohin. I love this yarn. I love this lady. You can check out the Wohin podcast on YouTube. I know you guys know it already. In the Footsie base, this is the colorway Solstice. It's just so pretty. And this is just kind of a cream color with these very pale blue and black kind of speckles thrown through. Gorgeous. I had planned on knitting this into a shawl. I have another one of her yarns on her single base. So we'll see. We'll see if I don't know if I'll give this one up for Sock Madness. This one may have to stay hoarded in my stash a little bit longer. Madeline Tosh. This was not available to me when I was living in Alaska, so as soon as I got into the US and could buy a skein of it, I bought it right away. Again, very bright gray and orange and neon yellow. And Hedgehog fibers. Again, was not available to me when I was living in Texas, and so when I went through a place that had it available, I was super excited. This is the Beach Bunny colorway. This is 90% merino, 10% nylon. And it's interesting because this one has a lot less nylon, but it feels more like a sock yarn, and I don't know if it's the way it's spun. It's a little bit tighter spun than the other yarns, but this one feels like it would hold up better. And again, I'm super excited to knit with these, so maybe this one will be next. I'm excited. I don't knit nearly enough socks, and then I tend to hoard all my sock yarn, and so Sock Madness is a great excuse to blow through some sock yarn and knit some beautiful socks that you can wear all year round. Last year I tried very hard to do the box of socks knit along over on the Wohin channel, but I lost my mojo. I knit my 4 or 5 socks during Sock Madness and then didn't knit any socks for the rest of the year. So that's how that goes. Next on the work in progress front, of course, with Sock Madness going on, I'm pretty dedicated to just knitting socks. So I'm going to show you the progress I had up until Sock Madness started on my great tapestry. This is again going to be very hard to show you because it's in the round and rather large, but you are starting to see this image taking shape. This is obviously just a picture of trees in the woods that I will hopefully steek open. Here's my steek. There you go. The design is by Peter Mitchell and it's called Tree Pattern. and the yarn is Knit Picks Palette, knit in Mist, Marble Heather, and Asphalt Heather. And I am looking forward to eventually showing that all cut open and framed up on a picture frame. But that's going to take a back seat for a little while. I definitely have no finished objects this week. I will 100% have one for next week because I'll be done with my Sock Madness round and be able to get back to knitting. There's usually a little bit of a reprieve between rounds, so you'll knit your sock and then you have a little bit of wait time while the rest of the groups finish. So that's when I get all my other knitting squeezed in. While I don't have any more finished objects or knitting to show you, I do have some acquisitions on the front on their way. As it is here, when I do buy things, if they're not bought locally, it takes them a little while to ship out to reach me in Okinawa. But I was on Instagram and I saw the Amirisu Yarn Club announced, which is very exciting to me because I've been wanting to reach out and explore more Japanese designers and Japanese yarn dyers. So Amirisu is a yarn shop and pattern magazine that is published out of Kyoto, Japan. And they announced their 2020 Yarn Club, which it's going to be 3 installments. So you get, I don't remember the months, like the first one comes in March or May. I think it's March, July, and September or something like that. But you're going to get yarn and a pattern for each of those installments. And they had a theme, so you could pick either day theme or night theme, and they had pictures up. Of course, I picked the night theme. I loved, the darker colors, not the brighter colors. That makes no sense compared to the things that I just showed you. I love dark yarn, guys. Can't you tell? But normally, yes, normally I'm much more in the grays and neutrals than I am in the brights, but the brights happen too in my life. I like both. But they did put up some lovely pictures of their inspiration photos. The dark one was like sunset over the winter mountains, and the light one was like a tropical beach picture. So I went with the night theme. We'll see what we get from those. I'm going to talk pretty briefly. I'm going to look down at my show notes here about the designers and the yarns that are going to be available, because I didn't know any of these companies, and maybe you don't either, and maybe you'd want to check them out. I don't know if these are going to be released in this order, but I have 3 designers and 3 yarn companies, so some combination of these will be released. The first yarn brand is it's Mominoki Yarn, and I'll put this in the show notes below, but it is a yarn dyer based out of Berlin. Now, she appears to be Japanese and speaks Japanese. I can't tell you what brought her to Japan, but I'm gonna call her a Japanese dyer because this is a Japanese yarn company that is releasing them. I don't know what they I don't know what to say about that, guys. She's based out of Berlin. Here's a picture of her lovely yarn, and I am looking forward to trying this out. The pattern designs, I saw Yuka Knit, who is CO2_Yuka on Instagram, and she had a bunch of sock patterns up, so I'm assuming we're going to get some yarn and a sock pattern for one of the installations. The next yarn dyer is Lemon Jelly Pool, who is an indie dyer living in Tokyo, and she is paired with the dyer Romy Designs, who is a knitwear designer living in northern Nevada. And it's interesting because Romy Designs says that she is a plant-based designer. So I don't know if we're gonna get some plant fibers in this yarn club. That would be really cool. I did see that the Lemon Jelly Pool dyer had a base that had some linen or flax in it, but it was like an alpaca linen silk blend. So I don't know, maybe we will, maybe we won't, but it would be interesting to see if we got some flax yarn or some sort of non-woolly yarn in this subscription box. And then the last dyer slash designer pair. So the designer is TE-SHI-GO-TO-KI-RO-KU. I can do this. And she's a designer living in Fukuoka, Japan. I saw a lot of really stunning sweaters in her design portfolio on Ravelry, so I'm excited about that. The design, the Yarn Club said it is coming with a sweater pattern. I don't know if they're going to send the amount of yarn for a sweater. I would be really surprised if my subscription bought me a whole sweater's quantity worth of yarn, but we'll look and see, because you did purchase by your size, but it didn't change the cost. So I don't know if that just means you're going to get the pattern that is in your own size, or if they're actually going to send enough yarn. I don't know how that works, but it was really interesting. So we'll just stand by as those yarns become available. I'll post them up here so you can see them and hopefully do a better job of explaining each of these designers and what they have available. I also made some purchases from Tanis Fiber Arts this week. She is a designer. She is a dyer. She and her husband are independent yarn dyers living in Canada. And something I love about her yarn is just her sense of color. So she uses, again, these very bright, beautiful colors, and just in a way that I wouldn't be able to put together on my own. But also their work on pure wash. So they have a great YouTube video talking about this whole process, which I'll link below. But basically, superwash yarns are pretty hard on the environment and put a lot of plastic out into the world. And so they had been working to try to get a base of yarn that was not so taxing on the environment, and they call that their pure wash base. And so I'll let you guys go check that out on your own, but I thought that was a really exciting thing to see an independent dyer doing, because I'm sure it costs them money and it increases the cost to us, which of course can affect your sales, but I think it's still, I don't know, I'll let you go listen to their video and see what you say, but I like her colors and I like their pure wash yarn. I have knit the Luminosity hat twice by them. I purchased a mini set for those colors, which I would highly recommend because they are a little bit pricey. I went ahead and bought another Luminosity set and then a couple skeins of one of their other bases so that I could make another fingering weight t-shirt, hopefully. I'm going to try to make the Luminosity shirt pattern just because I love the hat so much and I love the color so much. She also has a shawl pattern that is pictured up on her website. It's not her pattern, but she links to it, and I just love, love, love the way she put her yarn choices, color choices together for that pattern. As for life here in Japan, I've had several people reach out and ask me about, am I feeling safe regarding the coronavirus? I know they've changed the name. They're now calling it COVID-19, but I'm going to keep saying coronavirus just for simplicity's sake. Here in Okinawa, we have had 3 confirmed cases, so a smattering compared to other parts of the world, certainly. And so far, I think all 3 of those were confirmed to be related to that cruise ship that was quarantined. So they were people who had interactions with the tourists that came off that cruise ship. Otherwise, everything feels okay. Japan has decided to go ahead and close their schools for a month. So all the kids are out of school. I don't know if that's going to help or hurt because I just see all the kids roaming around on the streets together anyway. But yeah, public events are starting to be canceled. My upcoming trip to Tokyo, I've noticed that a lot of the things that I was planning on doing while I was there have currently been shut down. They do have dates where they're announcing to open again, but I don't know how things will work out, if everything will open, which makes me wonder if it's really going to be worth it to go if I'm just going to not be able to do any of the things I had planned for my trip. I could torture my husband and make it all about hiking and we could just go do a backpacking trip across Japan. He would probably decline to come with me on that trip, but I think it would be great. Maybe we'll go climb Mount Fuji or something, which we will not because it's the wrong time of year. You can't climb Mount Fuji in the winter. But that's what's going on here. I've noticed that some of the stores are sold out of face masks, and that at the hospital there's big red bold signs saying 1 mask per person, so people are starting to get nervous and purchasing up extra supplies like face masks and hand sanitizers and things like that. Again, good hand hygiene is where it's at. Face masks are helpful mostly in the fact that they prevent you from touching your face. They're not designed to prevent, you know what, I'm not going to tell you how to use face masks. You can find tons of that stuff on the internet. But what I'm saying is washing your hands helps. Like the one advice I can give you as a nurse, wash your hands all the time, every time you touch anything. But yeah, so things are fine here. That we are continuing to test people. I think like 93 people have been tested on island, and we've had 3 positive cases. All of the hospitals are setting up, you know, precautions of what to do. I know we've seen visitation policies change where I work, so stand by, keep an eye out. So far, everything is okay here, and I really appreciate those of you who reached out to me and asked and expressed their concern about how I was doing. So everything is good here. I think that's going to be it for today, though, guys. It feels like a little bit of a light episode, but that's a good thing because my life has been very busy. And I look forward to seeing all of you next time. As always, if you want to get in touch with me, you can find me on both Instagram and Ravelry as Haxton Knits. Have a good day, guys.